Will commercial real estate cause a recession? Will commercial real estate crash in 2024? Will commercial real estate affect the housing market? Why commercial real estate is better than residential?
I mean, it boils down to what I keep saying over and over again. It really just depends on, and some of these property values are going to come down so much that the next guy in is going to make a lot of money. San Francisco is a dumpster fire.
This is bad news for commercial real estate industry as a whole.
What annoys me sometimes, and there's one guy in particular that I'm thinking about.
Why are the Marines better than the Army? You see, I'm just fishing for the drama. Yeah.
So you're going to show me a card trick?
I'm just going to do this, okay? And you just tell me when to stop.
Stop.
Okay. Look at that card. Do you see it? Mm-hmm. I'm not looking at the camera there, okay? Mm-hmm. I don't know it. I don't see it. Okay? But I am going to shuffle a little bit. This is a new kind of way to shuffle that I learned.
What, messy?
Yeah, messy. Well, would you like to do any shuffles?
All right, I'll do one.
Okay, do a shuffle. Ooh.
Not that awesome, but...
Yeah, okay, cool. All right. Now, you see that they are... Right?
Mm-hmm. I do.
Okay. So, is this your card?
No.
This 10 is not your card?
Correct.
Okay, well then, I'm just gonna... I don't know. Would that be your card?
That is my card.
That's the move.
So you're palming the card? Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. Huh?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Did you see?
No.
Oh.
No, that's pretty cool.
Man, Jay, were you there when I was doing card tricks at the house? And Jay?
I saw your all's childhood laid out before me in the period of about 5 minutes. And you were getting so mad. And he was like, hey, man, I'm just playing, you know? Did he ever apologize to you?
I don't think so. Jay could probably clear this up. We'll get a text when he hears this. If he hears this.
Yeah.
But here's what I learned about Jay. And we learned this through Cody. Okay? So our older
Myers-Briggs stuff?
Yeah, Myers-Briggs. So our older sister Cody, one Christmas, had us all fill out the Myers-Briggs personality test. And she brought our printouts of what our personalities were. And we all read them.
It was really interesting. It was a great gift that she gave us.
The whole family, like, it nailed every single person.
Sure. Yeah.
Pretty much. And we were all just... We understood Beamer better. Beamer understood himself and his place in the family, being an introvert. I know you're introverted as well, but being like...
Not as much as one as him.
Right.
Yeah.
But what I learned about Jay is, yeah, sometimes he pushes buttons, but oftentimes it's not him pushing a button on purpose. He's not intentionally trying to tick me off. He was asking the questions that most people don't. They go along with it. They listen to the person who's leading them through the trick. But Jay had all these questions, and like, there's one I was doing where there's, 2 cards, and I was going to have them reappear, a jack and an ace, a red and a white, right? I was like, here are the cards. This is nice and quick. I was going to put them in. He goes, whoa. Was that a diamond or a club? And I was like, You are ruining the trick. You're only supposed to see the king or the jack and the ace and the red and the black, right? Just real quick, here it is, boom. But I stood up, I walked away because I couldn't, I was getting so upset. Then I came back. And what I recognized, and the gift that Cody gave us, was I was able to come in and be like, Jay, I understand you were not trying to tick me off. You were asking a question because you wanted to know, because you thought you had missed something. And that's on me. I should have led the trick in a way where he wouldn't ask any questions, right? So that's on me, the one who's doing the magic trick. So that's going to make me a better performer
Yeah.
because
See, I thought he was totally trying to tick you off.
now he did.
Because there was at least one he knew.
No, he
the
sabotaged me for real.
trick. Yeah.
That really ticked me off, right?
Yeah.
He just threw the card on the floor.
Yeah,
or something. And you texted me.
Yeah.
So yes, in that instance, he was sabotaging the trick. And
Please don't put that in the episode.
yeah. Okay. Okay, I won't.
Like, for real, don't put that in the episode.
I won't. Anyway, that's what I was thinking. What I was thinking of, you were there when he sabotaged it. But what I was thinking of, I don't know if you were there at the moment when I was trying another trick.
I don't, like, you didn't walk out and come back in.
Right. That's why I think the one I was describing.
But I wasn't.
He wasn't trying to sabotage. He was asking Jay questions.
I mean, just having enough empathy to look at things from somebody else's point of view and understanding that we're different is really a gift. Like you said, and the more we can understand the people that we love and have close relationships with, the more we can relate with them in terms of them instead of in terms of us.
Yeah.
And things just get better.
Yeah.
You know?
That's right. Yeah. It was huge. It was a huge gift. Thank you, Cody, for doing that. Cool. I'm gonna do something with you today.
Let's do it.
Or what are you teaching me? You got anything?
No, I think I'm going to lean back.
Yeah. Here's what I want you to teach me. That's what we'll do.
Yes.
Here's what I want you to teach me. Will commercial real estate cause a recession?
Cause is an interesting word in that question. Will commercial real estate cause a recession?
Now, think about empathy here. There's a lot of people that are asking this question. Will commercial real estate cause a recession? And maybe it's people that don't know much about commercial real estate or whatever, but
a recession is kind of a macroeconomic idea, and generally it's 2 quarters in a row of negative growth. But it seems like they've changed the definition of a recession in the last couple of years so that they don't have to admit we're in a recession or that we were in a recession. So I'm a little unclear at this point on what's the actual definition of a recession.
Okay. Well, can I throw you something then?
Sure.
Okay. From my understanding of recession is what happened in 2008 with the housing crisis.
The great financial crisis.
Great financial crisis, right? That seems like a recession. So I think when people ask this, it's more along the lines of thinking about that or the Great Depression, like these moments where more than the technical definition of a recession.
Well, yeah,
maybe. I don't know if that helps at all, but
okay. So if you go back to 2008, we had the subprime lending, and it created a housing bubble. You know, prices shot up, and all kinds of people that should not have qualified for loans were given loans, which created a tremendous amount of demand for housing. And then it collapsed in on itself, right? And we had a recession come out of that. So
would you say that the housing market caused that recession?
No, I would say lending practices caused that recession.
Lending practices within the housing market. Yeah. So I think a lot of people would think the housing market, I think that's where
that question came from?
Yeah, where that question came from. It's like, oh, we're seeing a bubble in the sense that there's a lot of loans that are coming due that people aren't going to be able to pay those balloon payments because the interest rates are hiked up, right? Not exactly the same as before, but a similar type of bubble is what it looks like to maybe the outside eye.
Yeah, I don't know if you're using the term bubble the way I would use it. Like a bubble to me is like inflated values, and then all these values come crashing down.
Sure. Okay. No, I'm not using it in that way.
So, you know, we do have a lot of balloon payments that are coming up, and because interest rates are much higher, you know, lots and lots and lots of loans, especially in the CMBS space, billions and billions and billions of loans are coming due in the next 12 to 18 months. You know, some of them are underwater, meaning the value is less than the loan amount owed on it. Some of them will be worth less than somebody paid for them, but it'll still cover the loan amount. Okay. Some of them will be refinanced. Some of them will be able to refinance, but it'll hurt. Some will have to bring equity to it. So, I suppose it's possible for commercial real estate to cause a recession in some ways, but I would argue that it's people that cause recessions and not properties. It's the decisions that people make to borrow or not borrow.
Sure. Well, looking at the decisions of the people that do CMBS loans or the loans for commercial real estate, the decisions of people taking those loans, and we've talked about this a little bit with
Lonnie
when he was describing the housing crisis.
Mm-hmm.
It's the similar type loans, MBS loans,
mortgage-backed securities.
Right.
Yep.
Right.
There's a lot more safeguards in place now.
Yeah.
Than there were before to try to prevent that from happening before.
Mm-hmm.
But
there are.
Yeah, I would say it's possible. Shoot, what do I know? You take any one deal in isolation, it would never cause a recession.
Yeah.
But
are we in a recession right now?
I don't think so.
Yeah.
But again, I struggle to really understand how you even define one now.
Right.
Because I have seen 2 quarters in a row of negative growth. So I would have thought that'd been a recession, but the government certainly doesn't want to admit that we're in a recession. So it seems like they've moved the goalposts or changed the definitions. So yeah. I'm unclear on all that.
From Bo, with not much research or knowledge on the moment right here. Should people be worried about a recession?
No. Most of what I'm hearing is that the Fed is likely going to achieve the soft landing that they're trying to achieve. So bringing inflation down while avoiding a recession.
Yeah.
Or if we do end up in a recession, my guess is it'll be maybe a pretty minor one.
This is a soft landing.
Soft landing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Will commercial real estate crash in 2024?
Overall, I would say no. All right. So think about this. If you're thinking of, or if you're talking about a retail property, if it survived COVID, you're probably good there. You've got sectors in retail that have struggled for a long time and continue to struggle, like super regional malls, some stuff like that. But overall, and we've talked about this some, people are spending more time at home, even in places where most people are going back to the office, and that's a bit of a norm. Overall, people are spending more time at home, which means they're spending their dollars closer to home, which means neighborhood retail strip centers are doing great. Mm-hmm. They're doing great. So I would expect no issues there. Office is struggling. It has been for a while, and I fully expect it to continue to struggle. And as you have some of these loans come due, office should continue to be a very problematic part of the industry.
Yeah, okay.
Hotels, I can tell you, as I travel a good bit, hotel rooms are way up. The price of rooms is way up. It seems like all the pent-up demand from COVID, people not being able to travel, not being able to get out, it seems like in the last probably year and a half, 2 years, the industry has enjoyed all that pent-up demand being released. So there's been demand for hotel rooms, all that's up, up, up. So hotel seems like it's in a pretty good spot, though I think it is kind of leveling back off.
Sure.
I think that pent-up demand has been dispersed. And
the pendulum has swung.
Yeah, but I think it's probably regressing back to the mean.
Yeah,
of
right.
what we would expect hotel. Industrial had that huge spike during COVID, and it has regressed back to the mean. So if you look at, this is really, really interesting, actually. If you look at industrial growth over COVID, you have this big spike. So everybody got sent home. Everybody started spending money on e-commerce, and it's like we got 10, 20 years of demand smashed all into COVID. Mm-hmm. Well, it came right back down. And so if you look after, 4 years, we're like 4+ years from when COVID shut the world down.
Almost exactly 4 years.
Yeah, March 2020.
Yeah.
And we're March
2024.
Yep. So it's been 4 years. if you look at the trend line in that industrial growth over time, and you got this big spike, it's come back down right to where it would have been if that trend line would have continued.
Huh.
It's still good. It's still strong. But it's come back down to where we think it would have been if not for that spike. So industrial has been good for a long time. It's come back to earth. It's still good. Multifamily has, if you listen to Lonnie and the Tripwire podcast, you'll see some cracks in the multifamily. You had all this rent growth for a long time. That seems to be coming back. A lot of these loans that are coming due are on multifamily properties.
Oh.
And you're going to see some delinquency in some of those and some issues. Now, that's all like broad strokes all over the United States. Okay. But real estate's local. So if you look at Owensboro, Kentucky, slow, stable, like I like industrial, I like retail here. Hotels, we don't have that many. We don't have that many people, but there's hotels, they seem to be all doing well. Office, most companies in Owensboro, everybody's back to the office. Like there's not a whole lot of employees that have been sent home and not gone back. Like we're a very back to normal community.
Right.
So, in some of these big metropolitan areas, there's still 50% of people not coming into the office. That's not the case here.
Yeah.
So office is doing fine here. There's not a lot of demand for it, but it's doing fine.
Yeah.
Right. So you have to apply this information locally. San Francisco is a dumpster fire. There's all kinds of crime. All kinds of these major retailers are shutting down their San Francisco stores. All of these job layoffs from tech firms and the such has just eroded demand for space in the San Francisco area, plus their political stance on crime and enforcing laws and stuff like that has created just sort of a cesspool of crime and low demand, and just about everything's failing there.
Yeah.
So, you have to apply this information locally,
right,
and see what those local markets are doing. But what was the original question? Is it going to crash in 2024?
Yes. Is commercial real estate going to crash?
It's not going to crash.
And I with what I've learned, I feel like that's not even there's so many aspects of it. Commercial real estate is hyper local. So if I don't understand all that, like before we started this podcast, and I read, San Francisco office, done, commercial real estate is just over, those kind of headlines, then it looks like, oh no, this is bad news for commercial real estate industry as a whole. But that's not particularly the case because it's so hyper local.
Yeah. And even in San Francisco, I guarantee you there's great opportunities there.
Yeah. Right.
And some of these property values are going to come down so much that the next guy in is going to be able to make a lot of money.
Right.
That next person that buys it way, way low, San Francisco will come back. Like they'll figure things out.
Right.
But
But right now, oof. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Will commercial real estate affect the housing market?
It's often the other way around. Or what we generally see in commercial real estate is an 18 to 24 month lag behind the housing market.
Right.
So if you see the housing market take a dip and kind of start the clock, and you'll see that a year or two later in commercial real estate.
Mm-hmm.
That's what we saw in 2008. 2010 was kind of the worst year for commercial real estate. It's kind of a lag. A lot of that has to do with the market cycles that we talked about before.
That was a great episode. Y'all should watch that right there. It's so good, explaining that things always come around. They always come back. Anyway,
mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, and because, housing can often meet demand more quickly than commercial real estate can meet demand. So, there's a big demand for housing. You go buy a piece of dirt, get some permitting, might have to rezone it, put the houses up, and that is a oftentimes quicker process than if I were going to do the same thing with an office building or a retail center. So when you're talking about commercial real estate specifically, you have the space market. And if there's more demand than there is for supply, rents go up.
Mm-hmm.
Correct?
Yeah.
And if rents go up, net operating income will generally go up, right? And so space markets will have that, there's more demand than there is supply, and there's not new supply to meet that demand. You can expect rents to go up. And if rents go up, then in the capital markets, what you'll have is properties that are cash flowing more, they have higher net operating income. Even if the cap rates stay the same in the capital markets, the value of that property goes up.
Yeah.
So more demand than there is supply in the space markets, rents go up. So the net operating income goes up. So the values go up in the capital markets. The values go up in the capital markets. Then a developer will look and say, if I build it, I can sell it for this. And there's a lot of profit in that. And so they'll start to build to increase the supply that adds new supply to the space markets that finally meets the demand. And that can easily be a 2-year process to go from the space markets to the capital markets to entice a developer to add new supply to the deal. And so because of that lag, commercial real estate often follows residential.
So essentially, no?
No, I don't even remember the question anymore.
Will commercial real estate affect housing market? Right?
Yeah.
You know what? I've got something that I think is more interesting. It would be a good way to, because all of those questions that I just rattled off in that little section there are all communicating a fear. I think it's speaking to a fear that people have, the fear of the unknown, the fear of the things that they don't understand, but they're getting nuggets and headlines about this market, and maybe there's several people that might be interested in investing in commercial real estate or, want to travel that, but have not taken the steps to educate themselves on that yet. And then you've just got the general public that are asking these questions because they hear the news about office that's happening in San Francisco, for example. And they're like, oh my goodness, is this going to affect me and my living and my housing and real estate, right? I think these are all speaking to this fear that people have when they hear the news about what the economy is doing, and specifically with office and, these headlines. Does that make sense?
I would agree with you. Those questions seem to indicate an underlying fear about the future.
Yes.
And so we just came out of, 12, 14 years of just really good economic activity.
Yeah.
Like up and to the right pretty much the whole time.
Right.
And so now it looks like, COVID was a little hiccup. Now we've got interest rates, trying to deal with inflation. You got some, Russia and Ukraine.
Right.
That has an impact on the world. And I think Russia's the second largest exporter of oil in the world. So that affects gas prices, even though everybody blames it on Biden. Mm-hmm. So, we are in a more uncertain, more of a downturn type point in the real estate cycle. My only thing would be I'm not that concerned about it. A lot of it has to do with the markets that I live in the Owensboro market, but we have investments outside of the market, outside of this Owensboro market, and I'm very, very comfortable with the growth possibilities of all the markets where we're involved in. So I sleep very well at night. I'm not concerned. If I had properties in some problematic states or markets, I would be more concerned. San Francisco is the obvious example there, but California, Illinois, New York are generally states that are tougher on business, higher taxes, not as good of an environment. Then you have like Florida, Texas, and Tennessee,
Mm-hmm.
kind of like the opposite end of that spectrum. They're very, very pro-business. So, I mean, it boils down to what I keep saying over and over again is it really just depends on the market that you're in.
Right.
So I'm not concerned.
Yeah. And if I could say this back to you, you're not concerned because when it comes to the commercial real estate market and the industry, it all is hyper local. What's going on in your area, in your town. And just because something is happening in one of the big cities, such as San Francisco, does not mean that your market is going to be affected whatsoever.
That's correct.
Yeah, could be the opposite, could be different. So anybody out there that has these fears that maybe PTSD from losing their home in
2009 or
2009,
something.
right? It's like you're seeing this happen with not MBS loans, but CMBS loans. Oh, what is that going to affect my housing, my thing? Is this going to affect the recession? And what I'm hearing you say is no, not particularly.
Yeah, I don't think so.
If you are in the commercial real estate industry or want to move into it as an investor or a broker or an agent, that you take a look at your market. Don't read those headlines and think that anything is happening to you with, the doomsday headlines.
Yeah, let me just rephrase the last thing you said. Read the headlines. Read the articles. They provide the macroeconomic context that your market lives in.
Mm.
Okay? So don't ignore that stuff. The mistake people make is they read the macroeconomic doomsday headlines and then they apply it to their very, very local market.
Mm.
That's often a mistake. Because what's happening in the big markets that catch the headlines does not mean that that's the case in your market. When the whole world booms, it would be a huge mistake to apply those very, very positive headlines to Owensboro because we don't boom here either.
Mm-hmm.
Very, very, very steady.
Mm-hmm.
Slow, steady growth, regardless of what the world generally
Best
does.
surgeon, steady hand. Remember that from The Office? The warehouse guy that used to be a surgeon and now he works in the warehouse.
I was thinking Karate Kid when you said that.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Right.
Same accent.
All right, next question.
Why commercial real estate is better than residential? I like the phrasing of that question because it assumes it is, right? But let's think about who would ask that question for a second. Who would ask the question, why is commercial real estate better than residential? It sounds like somebody that might be an investor or is trying to decide what kind of real estate they want to go into, right? Would you agree?
Yeah, I would agree.
Yeah. So I know you don't want to take a poo-poo on residential or residential agents or whatever, right? I know, and you wouldn't. But if it was like you're rooting for UK versus Louisville, right? But there are two teams, and one of them represents commercial real estate, one of them represents residential, right? You obviously would root for the commercial real estate team.
Yes.
Yeah?
But that's what I know.
I know that's what you know. But
So-
in that kind of fun, kind of competitive nature, you'd be like, yeah, commercial real estate is better than residential, right? Where I think you as a person, your character and who you are, you can see the positives and it's...
Well, let's just talk about some of the differences. Okay? Because the premise of the question, I think, is flawed. Because it's not necessarily better.
Yeah.
It's different. And there are some very specific differences about them that will make smaller residential investments better for some people.
Yeah.
And commercial real estate would be better for other people. So here's just broad strokes, some of the major differences between commercial and residential. And let me define our terms. Residential is anything 4 units or less. All right. So if we're talking about single family, duplex, triplex, fourplex, those are residential properties. All right. Anything with 5 units and above apartment complex, anything 5 units or above, we're putting that in the commercial real estate classification, right? Kentucky license law separates it that way. That's pretty much the industry separates it that way. So residential investment, you're generally buying single-family homes, duplexes, triplexes, fourplexes. Now, what are the advantages of doing that? They're smaller deals. It takes less money to do it. All right? So you can get started faster. It's also, residential is something most of us, unless we're, what do they call it now? Unhoused? Homeless?
Yeah. Unhoused. Oh, yeah.
Like we all live somewhere, right?
Right.
So we inherently get it.
Mm-hmm.
It's not a new way of thinking, or we've all pretty much grown up somewhere. We all have a home, some place to live, with certain things that work. You don't have to go to a class to figure out how to be a good landlord. It's like, make sure the HVAC works and the hot water heater works and the roof is good. And, it's like, it's simple.
Yeah.
Okay. It's not easy. Okay.
Yeah.
Because you might get a call at 3:00 in the morning.
Sure.
And now there are people that I know that have bought a house every year, and they get to the end of 30 years of doing that, and they've got 30 single family rentals. They've got a portfolio of this, and they can retire and live off the cash flow and the value of their portfolio, and it works. And if they started 30 years ago with a bunch of 30-year mortgages, now every year another one's getting paid off.
Right.
And so, that's a model that works. It's not that complicated. You don't need to go to school. You don't need to really understand how to underwrite properties and budget and all that stuff. There's some real advantages to just keep it simple. All right. Now, what annoys me sometimes, and there's one guy in particular that I'm thinking about, is he's got the ambition and the sophistication and a beginning skill set to do more complicated, more opportunistic, larger commercial deals, but he keeps doing the little ones, And I think there is a more wealth-building future for him on larger deals, but it's like he can't stop doing the little easy ones.
KISS. Keep it simple, stupid. You said that to me and it changed my life. That's The Office too. Keep quoting The Office. Anyway, sorry.
So anyway, they're different. All right. So getting back to residential is generally, you have a baseline understanding because everybody grew up somewhere and the deals are smaller. On the commercial side, you've got a much larger diversity of situations. You got industrial properties, office properties. You've got, retail, multifamily,
industrial, hotel.
Hotels, which we call hospitality properties. You've got self-storage, which is like a subset of industrial. You've got land, a lot of diversity. Okay. If you buy a big apartment complex, all right, well, you better be good at property management or be able to hire a good property management company. All right. You're going to need to be able to underwrite that property to figure out what you should pay for it. You're going to have to know things like annual property operating data, like be able to categorize or like figure out top line revenue, all your operating expenses, all that stuff. Like it just takes a bigger skill set to do that well. On the industrial side, now we're dealing with leases. You've got leases in apartment complexes as well. You got leases if you're leasing out a single family property. But when we get on the commercial side of things, the leases get more complicated. They're longer. They take longer to negotiate. You generally have more attorneys involved in the process. Everything just gets more complicated. So commercial deals are generally bigger, more complicated, and there's more potential for wealth. They're not always harder to do, but they could be more complicated. So some people should stay on the residential side.
And it's better for them.
It could be better for them if they lack the skill set, if they just don't like the brain damage of the complexity, and they want to keep things simple right in their wheelhouse. Buy a house a year. rent it out. Like do those things on the smaller, simpler side. There's nothing wrong with that. You can still get really good returns. But on the commercial side, you can go bigger. It is more complicated. Once you create that skill set, it gives you an advantage. It's a smaller competitive environment.
Yeah.
Like there are less people that can compete for these projects
Right.
on the commercial side. So it's just different. So I like commercial real estate better because I grew up on the commercial real estate side. It may just be that simple. And because of that, I've learned the skill set to be successful on that side of things. I've never bought a house that I didn't live in. You know, I've just never done it. It seems like it's too much work for the size of the deals they are. But that's just my perspective.
Yeah.
So I would say different, but not necessarily better. But you or whoever you are, one side is likely better for you, depending on your goals, your skill set, how much money you have, how quickly you want to move, that kind of thing.
I'm your friend that you were talking about, okay? I'm your friend that you were talking about, that you think I've got the potential, the bandwidth, the wherewithal, the ability to learn complex, whatever, to get away from the keep it simple, stupid, right? Convince me that commercial real estate and what you were talking about is better for me.
Well, I could do it on paper with the numbers. Okay. But that's not really, I think, the answer that you're asking for in this moment.
Right. Because when it comes down to the numbers, that basically what that's talking about is here's how much more that you can be making with less
time and effort.
Yeah. So, I mean, I think that might be the answer, really, you know, for people who fit into that.
Now, if you're not comfortable on the commercial side, then the potential risk is just off the chart. Like anytime you walk into something that you're just not real comfortable in understanding, it's scary. That holds a lot of people back, right? So to my buddy, who has it's like all he needs to do is like, let me help him do bigger deals on the commercial side.
Right.
As opposed to just buying every duplex he can get his hand on or which again, he's not making bad decisions. I think he could do better if he were to slow down. Essentially, he gets deal fever, you know, and that next deal, and I get it. I've had deal fever before.
Yeah.
It's hard. You just want to do the last deal, and there's a whole lot of FOMO that goes into this.
Yeah.
You know, they don't want to miss out on a good one, you know.
Right.
What I've learned is there's always another good one.
Always,
you know, always. So like if he never takes my advice and he keeps doing what he's doing, he's going to do very well. So I don't feel like I need to save him from anything.
Yeah.
I just think, and if I could pull him over to the CRE side, I think over the long term he'd do better. I think he'd have more fun.
Yeah.
And I think he'd have less to manage.
And it'd be good too because, you know, you want more people to work here as commercial real estate brokers as well. I don't know if you have this in mind.
This guy's an investor.
Oh, okay.
You know.
Oh, I see. On the investor side. Cool. Yeah. Cool. All right. Well, I thought about this analogy as you're talking about it. Would this be fair? A therapist versus a brain surgeon. That might be too much, but they both work with the workings of the brain, right? One's got a higher entry level, more complicated, not as simple. Not saying that one is, you know, simple. You know, I don't know much about either of these, but it's just like it'd be interesting. Yeah, interesting comparison, I guess, in my outside view. It's like, what's better, a brain surgeon or a therapist? You know, it's like you can't really say which one is better or better for a person. You know, they're different.
They're different. Well, here's what I can say.
Yeah.
Depending on who needs something, one of those two is a better fit for their needs.
Sure.
And that's exactly the way residential and commercial real estate is.
Yeah.
They're different. They take different skills. They take different amounts of money. They take different relationships with lenders. They take, you know, it's just different understanding, different understanding of the markets that they're in, all that stuff. But it's going to be better
Yeah.
depending on who we're talking to, who's trying to make the decision between the two. One of them is going to be better for you.
Okay. Well, then let me ask you this.
Mm-hmm.
Why are the Marines better than the Army?
Well, oh, you actually want an answer?
Yeah. Well, I mean, not necessarily. Yeah, but
The Marines basically have 17 things that we do really well. We have 17 capabilities. That number may have changed in the last 20 plus years since I've been out.
mm-hmm.
No, it's been 20 years. 2004, I got out. But we could do 17 things really well. And so if you needed one of those 17 things done, like, we were your best option.
Mm.
All right. Now, ego-wise, we are the best. But that's just pure ego, and
Right.
just about every service is going to say the same thing.
Yeah. And that's
You know.
that's what I was trying to get you to do with commercial real estate. I wanted to know ego-wise, ego-wise, why is commercial real estate better than residential?
Well, you do seem to have bigger egos in commercial real estate. That seems to be very true.
Yeah.
We had some investors take a look at a deal that we were working on about a month ago, and they turned it down. And the reason they turned it down, if I did, isn't there a Key and Peele skit where they tell the truth after there's been like political speak, like they translate?
Oh yeah, the Obama translator.
Yeah.
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 Oh, so funny.
So this was kind of like that. They said, not really a fit, blah, 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 blah. They gave us a number of reasons. Really, what I heard when they said that was, this isn't sexy enough. Like, we want to invest in something that just looks better.
Yeah.
This is a C-class apartment complex. 230 units. There's a lot to like about it. It was not pretty.
Mm.
They want things that are more trophy assets. They look better. It's a lot of ego.
Yeah.
And there's nothing wrong with that. I mean, it's their money. They can decide to invest in whatever they want. And but sometimes, people, I'd say all of us in some ways are ego-driven.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
Right.
I'm not excluded from that in any way.
Yeah.
But
I would love a sort of a rap battle of sorts between a residential person and a commercial person.
Well, we could bring a residential agent on.
Oh yeah, we
and
can
just talk about the differences and.
Yeah. No, I want like a rap battle without the rap. Just like why you think I just want that drama. You see, I'm just fishing for the drama. Yeah. Well, this is fun. I hope this was fun for you.
Yeah, it is. We can do this from time to time. Is just sort of see what the main questions that are being asked about commercial real estate.
Yeah, I want to know. And if you got any questions too, we want to answer your questions as well.
Yes.
Yeah. And if you're watching this on YouTube, hit subscribe, ding that little bell. We have a new episode every Monday. If you're listening on a podcast platform, thank you very much. Please leave a review on Apple Podcast. It really helps push this out to more people. Bo.
Oh yeah, we have our new newsletter.
A new free weekly newsletter.
Free weekly newsletter. It promotes a recent episode and also provides great business-related content. 5 to 7 articles a week, and you can sign up for that newsletter at subscribe.wgbarron.com. subscribe.wgbarron.com.
Of course, you can find all that information in the show notes or in below. Love you, brother.
Love you, man.
Bye, Alice.
Bye.